now move towards Raganuga Bhakti. So we'll start by offering our prayers. Om Agyan Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Mritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsham Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we'll offer our obeisances to the Shtad Goswamis first. Nana Shastra Vichanika Nipanau Saddharma Sanstapakau Lokanam Hitkarinau Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakarau Radha Krishna Padarvinda Bhajnanandena Mattalikau Vande Rupa Sanatanau Raghuyugau Sri Jiva Gopalakau. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus, they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and engaged in the transcendental service of Sri Radha and Krishna. So let us have a summary of what we have heard till now, the 2 important definitions, shlokas regarding the definition of what is bhakti. Anyabhilashita shunyam dhyana karma dhyanavritam anukullena krishna anushilanam bhaktiruttamam. Sarvapadi nirmuktam tatparasvena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakti ruchyate. So what we have to remember from these 2 shlokas is that our bhakti or devotion has to be devoid of all other desires. It has to be favorable to Krishna. It has to be cultivated by following the instructions and footsteps of the Guru Parampara. It should not be covered by any jnana and karma, kanda. Additionally, it has to be free from all material designations. We have to take Krishna as the highest object. We have to actually do the service. So devotional service, bhakti is a devotional service, and it has to be nirmalam, which means it has to be faultless. Then we have also seen about the 5 important aspects of the devotional service, for which we have the shloka. Sadhu Sangha Nama Kirtan Bhagavata Shravana Mathura Vasa Shri Murtera Shraddhaya Sevana. So, serving the deity with great devotion, recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam among devotees, associating with the advanced devotees, chanting the holy name of the Lord, and living in Mathura. The 3 categories of pure devotional service: Sadhana Bhakti, Bhava Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. So, as a neophyte devotees, we are trying to do Bhakti. So we start with Sadhana Bhakti, wherein we are not having that devotion which is self-realized for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As we progress, as we do the 64 Angas, we will develop into Bhava Bhakti, wherein we'll realize Krishna, and then Prema Bhakti, wherein the affection to the Krishna will be deepened to the greatest extent. What is eligibility to be a devotee is to have the mercy of a devotee, not being overly attached and not being overly detached as well simultaneously. So how do we do the bhakti? So 64 items of sadhana bhakti, 20 items of importance, 10 pravritti karma, 10 nivritti karma, 44 additional items, of which 5 are the most effective items, which we saw a little earlier. The 10 pravritti karma items to act are taking shelter at the lotus feet of Shri Guru, receiving initiation and spiritual instructions, serving Shri Guru with love, following the path of the sadhus, raising questions about the procedures of bhajana, renunciation of all material enjoyment for the sake of Krishna, to live in a sacred place and to hear the greatness of such places, accepting only what is required for the sustenance of bhakti, observing Ekadashi fast, and offering respect to the Ashwatha, Tulsi, Amlaki, the cows, the Brahmanas, and the Vaishnavas. The 10 aspects which are to be avoided is giving up the association of non-devotees, to give up the desire to make more disciples, giving up too many undertakings, renouncing the study of many scriptures in order to make novel explanations and arguments, giving up miserly behavior, giving up lamentation, anger, etc., giving up blasphemy and disrespect of other devatas, giving up harassment of other living entities, giving up all offenses in regard to seva and nama, and one should not tolerate blasphemy of Sri Guru, Sri Krishna, or the devotees. So yesterday we learned about Yukta Vairagya, because we have seen that for the devotional service to develop, it is important that our senses have to be ridden off of the material engagement. So that is what we understood. For that we require Yukta Vairagya. So in Yukta Vairagya, the senses and the emotions, they remain active, so the heart is not hardened. However, what the senses and emotions are doing is, our emotions, our activities, everything is exclusively for Krishna's service. And since it is for Krishna only, so we are not getting into sense gratification. So we are saved. But then we have to be aware about Falgu Vairagya, or the false renunciation. Because it happens that we at times, we try to reject something which one could use to please Krishna. And then that is false renunciation. So there's a shloka regarding this in Srimad Bhagavatam. Prapanchi kataya buddhya hari sambandhi vastuna mumukshubhihi parityago vairagyam falgu kathyate. So it means, on the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his renunciation. So what is required is a sincere Yukta Vairagya. Now, the very first definition, which when we saw the definition of Yukta Vairagya, the word was anasaktasti, without personal attachment. So we should be careful not to accept things that we desire in the name of that, okay, Krishna wants it. No. So we saw a lot of examples yesterday regarding it. And what is the solution? What is the safeguard for that? Is that we should accept a spiritual master's instructions on what is to be accepted, what is to be rejected for Krishna's service, because he is Krishna's representative. Let us not manufacture our opinions what Krishna wants. So the summary was that the process of Jnana and Vairagya can impede devotional service. So we have to be very careful about that as well. Then we saw about service and wealth. So it is not one's own practice of devotional service. So when we say service done by one's followers, so when we are training the disciples, or when we are training to anyone, then that could be a devotional service. But the moment they are trained and they start doing anything, that is their bhakti. That benefit does not come to the one who has taught. So we yesterday saw it is not an MLM. If we don't understand this, then we'll become complacent and our advancement will be rejected. Similar is the case with wealth. So if we are doing donations, then that act of giving donation for that particular moment is devotional service. What is the result of that donation? Whatever bhakti may improve because of that, and preaching may happen because of that, that benefit does not come to us. And that is why what we said is, let us have Nitya Seva, so that we take care of the temples regularly. Regarding saintly qualities, Sri Rupa Goswami Ji has affirmed that the purification of consciousness, purification of bodily activities, austerities, peace of mind, etc., all become automatically manifest in the person who is engaged in devotional service. So we saw the example of vegetarianism and devotee. So anyone who is a vegetarianism, it's a quality, but they are not devotees. But one who is a devotee automatically becomes a vegetarian. So all the saintly qualities, they come automatically once you take up to devotional service. And then we came across the Navvidha Bhakti. So basically the 64 ways to practice pure devotional service are expansions from the 9 basic items of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam. So Sri Rupa Goswami Ji has confirmed that these 9 different varieties of devotional service, they are the most important. That is hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshipping deity in the temple, praying, carrying out orders, serving Krishna as friend, and sacrificing everything for him. And then he says that one can achieve ecstatic love by executing all 9 or by just one also. Each and every one of the process is so powerful that if you follow even one item, then we'll go to the desired perfection without fail. So if you just like to say here, that's sufficient. Or if you just want to sing, that is also sufficient. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is clearly explained, wherein we get the statement, one may execute 1, 2, 3, or all the different processes of devotional service. And at the ultimate end, we'll achieve the desired goal of being established in devotional services. And then we saw the examples. For hearing, the best example is Maharaj Parikshit. For chanting, Shukdev Goswami Ji, one who narrated the Bhagavatam. Remembering Prahlad Maharaj, all the time he was remembering Krishna. Praying Akrura, even underwater when he was worshipping, he was praying. Worshipping the feet, Pada Sevanam, Lakshmi Maiya. Deity worship, Prithu Maharaj. Servitude, Hanumanji. Friendship, Arjuna. Complete surrender, Bali Maharaj. And then one who has practiced all of those 4 is the Amrish Maharaj. So this is all what we covered till yesterday. And now we continue to our next discussion, which is spontaneous devotional service. So what do we mean by perfect spontaneous devotion? So basically this chapter is titled as the Raganuga Bhakti. So if you remember the classification of bhaktis that we did, so we are now getting into the Raganuga Bhakti discussions. So Raganuga Bhakti means it is developing spontaneously. So bhakti is already there inside us. No one is telling us that we have to do it. Automatically it comes out. The moment the coverings of the material afflictions is going out, the bhakti comes out, the bhakti is seen, and it develops so strongly that we have a real great attachment towards Krishna and his service. So that is what is Raganuga Bhakti. But for that to develop, many times people get confused. Okay, we require jnana, we require vairagya, and then only we can develop the Raganuga Bhakti. But no, that is not the truth, which we saw yesterday and which we'll discuss further little today as well. So attachment is not required. So there is a shloka regarding this. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayat Ishu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yat Ahetukam. What it means is that by rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead Shri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. So see, for devotional service, we don't require detachment or knowledge. The moment we start doing devotional service, automatically we get the knowledge and detachment from the world. So this is a very important shloka which we have to remember. And this is an evidence that yes, what we are talking about regarding bhakti, pure devotional service, is actually happening. And there are evidences regarding that. So now coming to the Raganuga Bhakti, so when we say spontaneous devotional service or spontaneous devotional practice, it can be of 2 types. One is a bhakta who is practicing spontaneous service. Or the other could be a bhakta who is perfect in spontaneous service. See, one is practicing and one has got a perfection. So these 2 would be the aspects when we talk about the Raganuga Bhakti, as can be seen here. So the practicing spontaneous devotee, when we are talking about practicing spontaneous devotee, what it means is that the devotee performs the sadhana with the aspiration to attain the mood of a specific perfect devotee. So we are seeing this example. We have seen that there are this Navvidha Bhakti, and each Bhakti has been emulated so greatly by certain predecessor devotees that they have reached the pinnacle of devotional service. So we may get enthusiastic, we may get, impressed upon by certain qualities of certain devotees and would like to achieve that aspect. So that is something which will make us, okay, I also want to become someone like that. And that desire is something which is spontaneous. So what the practicing is, the devotee who is doing all the sadhana to reach to that devotee's level. Okay, he is my role model. So that practice that we do continuously, that becomes the practicing spontaneous devotee. And when we say the perfect spontaneous devotee, so there are only one location where you will get the perfect spontaneous devotee, and that is Vrindavana. So here they are the eternal residents, and they have spontaneous love for Krishna in one particular relationship. So when you are talking about Raganuga Bhakti, you will find that Raganuga Bhakti is in particular relationship with Krishna. So that is where the difference lies. We, over a period of time, the moment we start doing these activities, our love will automatically develop, and we'll find that, okay, we are in a particular relationship with Krishna. We want to do something for Krishna. And that practice is something which becomes more and more perfect. And when we reach a particular level, then Krishna is satisfied and he'll accept us as his eternal servants. And if we are not yet reached that level, at least we'll get the benediction of coming into Vrindavana, where automatically that mood will come up much more developed. Because that's the location where everything is pure love for Krishna. No one thinks of anything except Krishna and except Radharani. So it is said that Braja Raja is so powerful that the moment it is touching you, all your material desires can vanish. And so if you have what even slight material desires, you should avoid getting in touch with Braja Raja, or even hearing about Krishna, or even seeing Krishna. Because it is so powerful that it's completely vanished. So we have this story, this live history recorded of how Prabhupada ji got all the hippies into happies. So all of them they were not at all devotees. They were all American hippies, not following any regulative principle. But then Prabhupada ji was following his activities: Kirtana, Bhagavatam, deity worship, deity tracing, and then Prasada as well. So one of the things which was very, very famous was the gulab jamuns which Srila Prabhupada used to cook. And everyone used to want them again and again. So Prabhupada ji understood that yes, people like to have it, and they come to take it. And when they come to take it, they also listen. So he in fact made it a point that he kept a jar of gulab jamuns right at the entrance. So these people used to come, okay, there's something, jar, take the gulab jam, eat, run. But that was prasad. Second time, eat, what is happening? Let me see. See, gone. Again, few days later, coming, seeing, let me also see it and understand. And slowly they become attached to Krishna and Krishna. And that is why gulab jamun were called as ISKCON bullets. Because it is with this that Prabhupada ji killed the whole effect and capture of Maya on those denizens who were living there. So completely shattered the material aspects. Everyone came into devotional service. And so ISKCON bullets. So coming back to the discussion, so that is where our relationship develops. So Ragatmika Bhakti is a perfect devotional attachment which is found in the residence of Vrindavana. And it is the practice of a devotee who aspires to develop that mode. So that is what we have to be remembering about and trying to emulate them over a period of time. So as I said, there are two types of Ragatmika Bhakti, because when it comes to Ragatmika Bhakti, there is some kind of a mode, some kind of a relationship which we are trying to establish with Krishna. So there could be something. So it could either be a friendship, servitude, parenthood, or consorthood. So we may like to be dasah, we may like to be a sakha, we may like to have vatsalya ras, or it could be prema ras, consorthood. So Ragatmika Bhakti would be having these modes. Now based on these modes, there are two types of Ragatmika Bhakti which are defined. They are grouped. So these four are grouped into two categories. The first three is the first category, that is Sambandha Roop. So we establish a relationship either as a dasa, a sakha, or a parent. And then next is the consort. So in Sambandha Roop, it is a relationship which we establish and we try to act in that relationship. While in Kama Roop, it is sensual attraction, the conjugal love towards Krishna. So when you are talking about Prabhuji, Krishna, how is it possible? It is because Ekalaha Krishnaha Purushaha. Krishna is the only Purush. He is the only enjoyer, and we are all enjoyed. And that is our real relationship. He is the Ekala Purush. So Ragatmika Bhakti is of two categories, Sambandha Rupa and the Kama Rupa. So when it comes to the Kama Rupa, the best example that the Shastras talk about or evidences that we get is about gopis as well. But then Prabhuji, you're taking about these four things. Is it documented anywhere? Yes. Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you remember, we have already seen this shloka. In 7th canto, 1st chapter, 31st shloka itself, it was there. Wherein the translation read that the gopis by their lusty desires, Kaunsa by fear, Shishupala by envy, and the Yadus by their familiar relationship with Krishna, you Pandavas by your great affection for Krishna, and we the general devotees by devotional service have obtained the mercy of Krishna. So see, everyone has got the mercy of Krishna by one relationship or the other. And that is what is required. So what this shloka is doing is, it is talking about the different spontaneous emotional attachments. Lust, fear, envy, familial ties. So either just like gopis or Kansa, fearful, Shishupal, he was envious. Yadus, they were related. Pandavas, affection or devotional service. So everyone. So there's some kind of a spontaneous emotional attachment. Now of these, basically, if you see, two are spontaneous and devotional. For example, fear of Krishna may be spontaneous, but it is not devotional. Similarly, envy of Krishna can be spontaneous, but it is not devotional. Relationship with Krishna, it may come, not necessarily to be devotional. But when it comes to gopis, it is spontaneous as well as devotional. And when it comes to the affection as a friend of the Pandavas, which the Pandavas exhibited, that was also spontaneous and devotional. But then it is said that though it was not devotional, they have obtained the mercy of Krishna. You have to remember this, and we'll discuss this further today. So there are two types of spontaneous loving attachments. And this confirms Srila Rupa Goswami's categorization of perfect devotees into two categories. That is Sambandha Rupa and the Kama Rupa. So this shlok is the evidence for that thing. So what is important is that we absorb our mind in Krishna with some emotion. See, this is important. We have to have Krishna in our thoughts always. He has to be the center of our activities always. And when I say always, always means with every breath. As long as we are breathing by this body. So 24/7, we have to think of Krishna. We have to look at Krishna. We have to work for Krishna. And we have to do anything and everything which Krishna may like us to. And how do we know what Krishna wants us to do? From our Guru Maharaj. And that is why we have to take shelter of the Gurus. Because Guru is the representative of Krishna. So he will guide us on what is to be done and what is not to be done. So the moment we are completely absorbed continuously in Krishna, then our emotion will be very effective than normal intelligence. Because with intelligence, we will make all kinds of efforts. With all kinds of yogas, dhyana, pranayama, everything we may try. With intellect, we may try to fix our mind on something. But when it is fixed with emotion, it is easier and it is permanent and does not get disturbed so easily. And that is why you have to keep your mind always absorbed in Krishna. So emotion is more effective than intellect in fixing the mind on an object. So when emotion and what emotion impels is remembrance of Krishna. And the moment it is remembrance of Krishna, the sadhana is effective in reviving the ecstatic love of Godhead. Because it is lying dormant in our heart. So that is why emotional attachment to Krishna is very, very important. Now, what if I have unfavorable emotions? Yes. Even if they are there, they can strongly enwrap our mind upon Krishna. And the moment we get enwrapped into Krishna's thoughts, they can purify us. So any kind of emotions that you could think of, they have to be directed towards Krishna. And our purification journey starts. And the moment we are purified, we become successful. For example, Kansa and Shishupal, they were obsessed with Krishna out of fear and envy. But still they became purified and liberated. In fact, it is said that they achieved the same destination as the gopis. Huh? Same destination as the gopis? Yes. Let us see how. So when we are talking about Kama Rupa, let us see why we say or talk about gopis. Because this is the eternally perfected devotee serving Krishna. It cannot be done by anyone. And this is called as Kama Rupa. Kama means lust and Rupa means form. So Kama Rupa may externally seem that it is a lusty service. But that is not that way. It is an eternal perfected devotee who is serving Krishna and allowing him to be the Purusha, the enjoyer. The Kama that we talk about in this particular word, the lust, it is an intense thirst to satisfy the senses, but not our senses. It is Krishna's senses. So the lust, the Kama can be material and spiritual. Material is to satisfy the senses, but spiritual is to satisfy Krishna's spiritual senses. And that particular Kama Rupa is a Raganuga Bhakti, Ragatmika Bhakti. And the example is that of iron and gold. See, both are metals. But then one is highly valued, the other is very common. Similarly, material and spiritual lust are similar because both involve the desire to satisfy sensation. But material desire, material lust, everyone is having. So it is very common. Spiritual lust, it is valued. The reason being, it is selfless desire to satisfy the senses of Supreme Lord. The objective is Krishna and Krishna's satisfaction. And that is the reason why it is highly valued. So it may seem that we are apparently talking about selfishness. You are selfish. But no, it's not selfishness. Because Krishna becomes happy when he sees his devotees happy. And therefore, the residents of Vrindavan endeavor for their own happiness, it seems. But the motive is to please Krishna. So, to materialistic eyes, it may seem to be a desire for enjoying the Lord, but actually, it is the endeavor to serve the Lord in that capacity. So, we have to be very, very careful. Now, here when Srila Rupa Goswami ji is using the word lust, kama rupa, the gurus say that it is used figuratively. So, the reason being is he's trying to communicate the intensity of Gopi's service attitude by comparing it to the most intense desire a soul can understand. Because that is the most, what I'll say, extreme desire which we mortal human beings have or any other living being is exemplifying. And Rupa Goswami ji wanted to show that the affection which the gopis have for Krishna is as good as that, not even as good, even much beyond that. And so he has used it as a figurative example. So the gopis' ecstatic love for Krishna is described by scholars as lusty desire. But actually, it should not be taken as a literal fact. It is simply a way of trying to understand the transcendental situation. There's nothing better than the devotional service which the gopis have shown. And it is lust-free in fact. And there are evidences how it is lust-free. So if you see the Shastras, Udbhava and Lord Chaitanya, we have heard about them, we have read about them. They are two stalwart personalities. Both are from Krishna. And they are free from all attraction to mundane lust. But they both glorified Gopi's love for Krishna. And that shows that their love was fully transcendental. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a strict brahmachari. He did not ever allow any women to come in front of him after taking brahmacharya, sannyasa. But then he used to say that our service has to be like Gopira Bhartura. We have to serve, be the devotee of the devotee of the devotee. And the gopis are the highest devotees. If you get even 1% of their devotional service, you would have achieved something. So strict sannyasi like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has praised the gopis and their devotional service. And that proves that it was not nasty. It was completely transcendental discussions. So at times there also comes a question, why both of them, like Shishupal or Kaunsa, they also got the same, what I'll say, result like the gopis. So if you see in the lecture, in the book, it is said that though it is mentioned that they have got the similar end result, the fact is that they have talked about receiving or achieving Bhagavan. But they have got only to the effulgence level of Krishna. They have not received the ultimate objective, that is Bhagavana Swarup. They have reached only up to the Brahman level. So if you are envious, if you are enemy of Krishna, though you get the liberation, that liberation is only till the Brahman level and not beyond that. Only those who are pure devotees of Krishna, they can go to the highest level, which is to achieve Krishna in the Bhagavana Swarup. And that is what the gopis have achieved. And so our objective should always be to follow in their footsteps. Even Prabhupada Ji has shown the same qualities. In fact, he has promised that at your time when you are leaving the body, if you have followed my instructions, I'll ensure that I personally come and take you back to God. And there are so many documented examples of Prabhupada disciples leaving this body, and at the last breath, they having uttered, "Oh Prabhupada Ji, you have come to take me." There cannot be anything more proof than this. That yes, this is a promise, and this promise has been given because Krishna has himself told this in Bhagavad Gita. He has told to Arjuna, "Oh Arjuna, you declare to the world that those who have been following my devotional service, those who have become my devotees, they will not have to take birth again." And why did he tell Arjuna to declare this? Because it may happen that people may say, "Oh, Krishna has a habit of cheating." But then, when a devotee declares, Krishna always fulfills. That is why he has declared. And all the representatives of Krishna have declared in the parampara. And so we have to strive to achieve that perfection. And the day we achieve that perfection, we would have achieved the ultimate objective, which is Krishna train. And that is the level to which we all have to reach. And Krishna has said that this is very easy. And even Prabhupada Ji has made it so easy. So very easy. Because it's as good as achieving the complete love. You just have to follow ABCD. And this Navida Bhakti, any one of that, and our life will be perfect. And that perfection is something which will actually help us continue further. So thank you very much. We'll have the discussions continued next week on this spontaneous devotional service. Hare Krishna.